Thanks a lot for joining in. This is like our first session of our tenure of the new committee, and we are excited to kick off our tenure with how to break into product management with Dr. Bart Jaworski. So, Bart, can you tell everyone a bit about yourself? Bit, how did you get into product management, and uh, maybe what do you like the most about it?
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Bart. I am a senior product manager at Skype, and well, I've been now a product manager for what 7 years, maybe more. It's getting a bit long, and the counter keeps counting. But what got me into product management was like in many cases just life and accident. I was in a small startup that had very few people, and I was more of a project manager back then when there was few developers that I was coordinating, making sure that I are doing the right changes in the product. But as time goes on, rather than coordinate, I started doing much more work that was decision calling. And on one meeting, I was called a product manager, and that name sort of stuck. I liked it. I started to research what do product managers do in big companies, and well, it got everything started there. At some point, I was given actual decision making capabilities in that company when the owner decided to get himself a different company, different product that lasted for a while, and eventually I moved on to different companies, and here I am at Microsoft, being really grateful to work on Skype. So big minus for you guys for using Zoom, boo. But outside of that little faux pas, that it's really I'm really happy to talk to students. I in my mind, I have been a student just recently and far longer than you will be, since I also did my PhD, which is, by the way, the best time investment if you want to be product managers. You don't need to have an MBA, doctorate, or anything. You just need to somehow get there, and that's the difficult part. Um, how about Ronak? I don't tell you about how to break in. Let's like have a separate topic on that very case. I'll instead tell you what I like about product management is that aspect of, despite not being the best in terms of being people person, I really like to bring people together, ideas together, getting something out of really nothing, getting good ideas, facilitated research, and then have that feedback of people telling me that the product is good, whether personally or by looking at analytics that tell me that something that we assumed will work. For example, recently in Skype, we made the journey to join a meeting on a mobile phone much easier. You no longer have to download the app. You don't have to log in. You just click the link and you're there in the meeting, and that had such a profound effect. And it blew any estimation I had out of the water, and everyone in the company was happy. And it was also connected to the fact that it's like almost giving people a favor, a service, because no one asks them for any money to get to that meeting. We don't even ask them to log in and create Skype accounts in that particular flow. So it's like, you want to meet? Here's your meeting. No questions asked, no fuss. We do everything we can to make this a great experience for you, and that really fills me with joy day to day.
That's actually a great segue because the next question was going to be usually people feel that product managers are more about managing people, managing development, whereas it's actually about managing product. And would you want to say, I mean, what is a normal day to day or a work week looks like for a product manager?
Well, you wake up, you go to a meeting, and then the work's over. But seriously, it's all about a balance of making sure that you spend enough time with people, enough time discussing and researching really, because at the end of the day, the whole job, the whole product manager concept bows down to the fact that you have to make the best possible choice ever and invest as much time as you should in order to know that you're making the right call and be able to convince people that you make the right call. That in any given moment, under the circumstances you knew and you worked hard to get as much as feedback, background, etc. as possible, your choice was the best choice possible. Because at the end of the day, much as with everyone's real life, you can't do anything. You can't be a karate master, doctor, superhero, great engineer, father of 5, and at the end maybe watch some Netflix before you go to sleep. You have to choose. And as a product manager, you have to choose wisely, because there will be 15,000 people asking you for changes in the product, and you can only do a handful and you'll be late with those anyway. So it's all about making sure that you spend your day gathering sources that will help you make a decision eventually, or gathering inspiration for things that you can research on or hear things that people need. This will be a meeting with the data people. It will be you just Googling, looking for research, or talking to people who did similar stuff in the past and you want to find out more. You'll have people that are from different, at least in people in a company as big as Microsoft, you will have people from different departments, product, wanting to talk to you to get something integrated, and that's really the gist of it. Sometimes you'll be playing around with some doodling, some interface, or as people often joke in our community, do the Jira. So that means that there's a program that helps you organize your tasks in a so-called backlog, and I should be spending far more time in it than I actually do these days. But that's also the very important aspect, that you make the decisions and then you organize the priority in some software, and you make sure that the engineers you're working with know what they're supposed to do and do their best. There's often confusion that the product manager should also oversee that, but frankly that's the wrong interpretation of the position, because if you are also a project manager and you spend time making sure that every pixel is in its right place, that it's all on time and in a perfect quality, then you'll quickly find out that you don't have time to think and be creative. And you need to be creative, you need to be open, you need to be energetic, and your mind needs to accept lots of data points. If you're tired, if you're wasted, you won't be able to make those calls.
And you have worked in project management and product management. How there are some people over here who would want to get into project management, some people who want to get into product management. What is the basic difference between them?
I would say that imagine being an architect and you want to build yourself a dream house. You figure out that it has to have a garage, you have to have a 2-story building, like those triangle roofs. It has to be passive power with lots of solar panels. There needs to be a big room in the middle, those kind of stuff. And you are the visionary now. You are the product manager that is designing the perfect house for yourself. But you won't be figuring out where to put the pipes. You won't be figuring out how much the width of the cables have to be, right? You won't have to know how strong the fundaments will have to be built. How much concrete do you need? That's the project management. That's making the vision into reality. So the product manager is the person who knows what to do, and the project manager oversees that it's done. Whether it's on time, whether it's in the right quality, whether there's a timetable, he he or she is the person who oversees stuff to realization.
Right, right. And if someone, so we are all students over here, and we want to break into product management, and we come from different experiences. So if you had to speak about skills that you need to have as a product manager, like the core technical skills, if you need to have, which one would they be?
Okay, so let's start with general skills, and if I can only figure out how to share my screen, there we go, I have to unpin myself first. So if I go to my presentation, this is like the one I reuse, so I didn't want to like lead with PowerPoint. Not this one, this one. But this will help me to guide the narration. So let's see. This is why to become a product manager. And we should be in skills. So let's start with the business acumen. This is like this is also sometimes called the product sense, where you, without having lots of data, lots of experience, have like this sixth sense of understanding what people need, that you will not be in a position where you figure out weird ideas that you just want to pursue, and despite having the layer of finding proof for your product decisions, there's also like the under the skin layer where you know what to investigate, because just like you can't do everything, you can't also research everything. So you need to be able to make such calls to identify the ideas that will be actually beneficial for the product at the first glance. That's the first glance. That's understanding your market. Leadership. Product managers are, well, product managers, not really people managers. In my day-to-day duties, I don't have any subordinates. I work with the team, but I'm not the manager of the development team. That means that I have no ways to like give them bonuses, or well, you don't really punish people these days, but you can only lead by great talk, by arguments, by data, by understanding people, by making sure that you are a good human being that understands that it's the people who do the product. It's not the mindless developers who are there just to serve your will. We are all group of very talented people with lots of experiences, different perspectives, and each voice has to be heard. Each person has to be able to contribute. Because if you create such open, inclusive environment for the generation of your product, you will still find out that you are a product manager with a team of junior product managers that are equally passionate about the product as you are. And if I'm tired, if I'm not having the best day, there are people there to help me out, to point out that I didn't think something through or forgot about something. And those will be my allies that will help me to be better. And that's like very, very great. I am the person responsible at the end, but at the same time, I want to have supporters that will help me to survive, because that's a lot of hard work to do. And I mentioned again and again how understanding data, being data driven, is important. That doesn't mean that you have to be a data scientist. That doesn't mean that you have to be a master level Excel user. You have to be able to know that you need the data to prove your points. You need to know what questions to ask and surround yourself with people, teams that can answer those questions for you, or you need the skill set to do it on your own. It all depends on the scale of the company. When I was in 10 people startup, I was going to databases and asking those databases for the data I need. But nowadays there's a whole big team that is only working to answer the questions that we as the product team put in front of our product. Communication. Your listening to me. I'm trying my best to give you a story of product manager. I'm trying to engage you. I'm trying to put it in a real life situation. And I have to do this all day with everything I do. And despite many years of experience, despite hearing that I'm quite good at it, I still find myself not always communicating the right stuff or in the right way. Sometimes I use too many words. And I always say in the sessions like this, in my online courses, that the communication for product manager is the skill that can bring a good product manager to being bad because no one knows what's going on, and the entry level product manager can be elevated to greatness if everyone knows what's the progress, what's on the agenda, what's the long-term plan, strategy, vision. Everything like that can be driven just by the art of speaking and telling stories. Really, this is probably the most important skill for all PMs. You did ask me about technical skills. I won't say that you don't need them, but I also won't say that you have to fixate on them. You need to be as technical to be able to talk to your development team, understand what's going on, understand their language, and be able to then simplify it when talking to other people. That usually comes down to understanding their process on how the code is being developed and what is the so-called release process, where a completed piece of code that is tested ultimately reaches the product and is being used for the users, and it can get tricky. Very often you hear that something is done where it's like a marathon runner being happy that he won at the 30th kilometer mark. There's still more than 10 kilometers to go, and everything can go to hell at that distance. So it's really good for your communication that you understand what's going on. I did mention also a few skills that can help you, like being able to communicate with the database, the SQL language, so to say. It would be great to understand current technologies, like what cloud is, why is it important. You don't have to be an expert Azure or Amazon Web Services engineer, but as long as you understand the basics, you know that you can pay per a cycle of processor, this kind of stuff, it really helps you to navigate that difficult landscape. Also, there are specific technical skills that can help you, like understanding the world of APIs that can connect different products into a single functionality, or even invest your time into becoming a machine learning and AI product manager. That is a position that's on the merge of product and project management, because there you have to be the actual tech expert that tells the engineers what should we do to better train the AI and how to get the product better, and be the technical authority that you usually don't have to be. Let's see, did I miss anything? No. If I recall any more technical skills you should have, I will just bring it up, but I think I got the gist of it. And understanding users. This is very connected to the business acumen and data analysis, because at the end, what's data? Data are numbers that explain to you what is going on with the product, how the people are using it. So if you understand your users, you can create better products, and you know how to try to understand your users, whether it's through observing the product directly via so-called heat maps, where the colors explain to you what's going on the screen, by direct interviews, not sure if I mentioned it, or just by creating so-called funnels that show you the data on how users flow through your product. It's usually this kind of a bar chart that tells you that on the highest bar you have visitors. Then you have people that engaged with the product, for example, people who added the product to the basket, then went to payment, yada yada. It's going down in usually, no, always. There's always there are always few people being lost in the funnel, but well, being one with your users, being the person who understands needs and can tell the actual problem or a need of a product from just a person shouting in the comments that something is pretty wrong is a very important skill. And that's it for this question. Now, let me turn off the presentation. If I need it, I'll just bring it back to help me illustrate what I'm talking about.
So a number of people over here come from different backgrounds. They could be non-tech, they could be tech. So if someone is from non-tech background, uh, what do you think they could look out to find that overlap in their interview so that they can bank on it and take it forward or position themselves better for the interview?
I would say that the best thing that I would say that other than obviously going into the tech world, let me move on to that later. One thing you can do is to one thing make your hobby the product management, to read, watch videos, attend online courses, just spend 30 minutes a day. It sounds not much, but if you do it for a month, 2, 3, half a year, then you'll accumulate a lot of knowledge, a lot of stories, a lot of product cases that help you navigate. What you can also do is try to create your own mini product, not for the sake of creating a company or profit for that reason, but to implement product management principles in order to grow it to some success, whatever that would mean. Say you create a small app that does something small, nothing that you want to spend months and months learning coding, something pretty basic. But you, as a product manager, set a goal. I want to achieve 1,000 downloads before the end of the year. How am I going to achieve it? What will make my app stand out in a way that to achieve that, well, small, big goal depends on the context. But even so, product management might sound easy because I'm just telling you have to make choices. You have to find the grounds for those choices, present them, that's all. But it's not that simple. It requires a lot of experience in terms of dealing with it. It requires you to have this resistance and resisting the urge of doing everything possible and pleasing everyone. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to do a lot of different things. And that's why people won't be eager to hire you without experience to product management. After all, they are giving you business worth of hundreds, thousands of dollars, millions of dollars for you to earn more money for them, right? If you just get depressed because you can't please everyone, then they are not doing you a favor. So the best thing to do here is to get some entry-level IT job, whether that's development, data analysis, design, something where you can start without that burden of responsibility, where you can take your time to learn and be closer to an actual product manager, see how she works, what's the daily requirements, what this person does good and bad. And when the time is right, go to your manager, go to HR and say that you want to be a product manager and you need a development plan to get there. Well, some people will say, yeah, right. But if you are in a good company that cares about employees, that cares about hard work and dedication, you will hear, okay, let's figure this out. Obviously, this won't happen overnight, and you'll work hard to achieve it. But that's the realistic journey. That's the journey I've really taken. I told you that I got this job organically, but the truth is, it was just the product management title in a small startup. It didn't help me to become an actual product manager that does things by the book, like and the whole industry does. It took me 2 years of learning how to perform well on job interviews and knowing what I didn't know because of my experience before I got my first real product management position, and only because I was a subject level expert about the job market. And I was told that I have 3 months to prove myself that I can survive as a PE product owner then. And because it's not enough to have the market level knowledge, but I was knowing so much that it was worth to gamble on me. So it's not easy, really, and it's worth it. But circle around, you can still be lucky to get a job, product management internship, or find a position that's called associate or junior product manager, and those are entry level positions. There are dozens, hundreds of people applying, but you may be one of those dozens, hundreds of people that will be successfully landing that position. As long as you make it your hobby, you have something to show for, and you have some even in-house experience to prove that you can do it. I know a person that landed her first product management position because of a well product managed social platform career, the influencer career on Instagram, and she was able to demonstrate that it wasn't her showing her nice face and clothing. It was her researching what people like, what will work, making experiments, sending 2 different photos to see which one will be more successful. And because of that success story, I now have a great, I don't want to say mentee, but we talk at least once a month when she comes to me with like a small problem to how should I address this best. So, and generally, guys, if you need any help on product management, I'm on LinkedIn. I have my course. I will try to help you at my best. The only thing I don't do is like one-on-one calls because I would go crazy. And as I told you, I did come to this session and I had to skip a meeting. And if I didn't promise that to Ronak like a month ago, I'd probably cancel and focus on that. But I'm really there to hear you out, because sometimes helping person to get the product management is not really about like telling you what to do. It's sometimes as easy as telling you you can do it, you have it in you. You told me things that you should be saying on a job interview, go get them. And even if you fail, that's okay. People fail on job interviews all the time. This is not a failure. This is a learning process. This is a cycle of trying your best, succeeding or failing, and if failing, knowing why you failed and trying again. And you can't ever let you be brought down by a failed job interview. There's so many things that can go wrong. And it can go to things like the other person was cranky and had a bad night because his or her kid wouldn't go to sleep. And because of that, this person, I don't know if we can hire him. This is the harsh reality. People are hiring people and people are imperfect. So if you fail for the fourth or fifth time, try again. Eventually, you'll get there, really. Be strong, be optimistic, and I'm here to help too.
And just to let everyone know, Bart is absolutely active on LinkedIn. He and his colleague has roughly hit like 170 people last year to get into product management. Is that right?
The counter now is it's 44 this year, and Shravan is at 115. Yeah, it's around 170 at the moment since September last year. Yeah.
Guys, if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hands and ask directly. Uh, oh, we have. Oh, hi, Zed. Please go ahead.
Hi, Volkosh. Thank you very much for the presentation. So I have a couple of questions. Like when you first start out, especially if it's a new business, you kind of have to get to speed with what the knowledge about the business is. What are certain tips to get to do that? Like, do you focus specifically on networking with people, talking to people who have like had 20 years or 30 years in the industry, I mean, veterans in the industry? Uh, or do you have any specific guidelines that you follow, like some specific sources that you find? That's one question. And the second one
Mhm.
is, like, how do you translate the needs of your customers for engineers so that it's more interpretable? Do you kind of use like something like a house of quality or some other kind of technique?
Okay, so when you're landing to a new industry, it sort of happens organically because you get a problem, you get a challenge, and you need to figure out how to solve it. So you learn little by little. And like you said, it's the senior stakeholders that can help you, but they usually don't have time to just get the new kid up to speed. But the knowledge is always out there, whether it's in the internal company records, whether it's people, whether it's your manager, whether it's Google. You just need time to get into it. And I'm telling you from a perspective from a person who worked for a company that served recruiters with IT software, from a person that moved to job board, so that was very similar. But then I moved to car selling, and now I'm in Skype. And I wasn't expert at car selling, nor was I an expert in communication when I landed my jobs. This comes organically by research, by talking to people, by analyzing the data, and by just doing your job. That doesn't require any specific process. And very often I wouldn't really think that there's a golden solution for everything in some framework. Frameworks are usually meant to organize something that is actually quite logical and something you can come up on yourself when you put your mind to it. There's hardly ever a framework that is like, oh my god, how is this possible? How is there such a brilliant thing that tells me A to B to Z to and there's a solution? No. There's always a process that you need to figure it out. You can use a framework to start, but that's not what will be universally applicable to any product, any team, any specific problem. And translating user needs to solutions is never a straight thing. We are product scientists, really. The whole notion of product management is to have an idea, test it out at the lowest possible cost, the so called minimum viable product, or any other way. See the feedback, go back to the drawing board and improve the solution until you get it right. If you can get it right the first time, kudos, you're much better than me and I can learn from you. But the thing is, no one knows what's the good solution. People have opinions and people have proposals. And you, as the product manager, has to select the one that you believe will be the most the most promising one and test it, and then take some and then understand what the results are and iterate on that. That's it. It's not like you create a feature and then you move on to another feature. You get some basis to get feedback to see how it operates, and then you carry on until you are happy or you find something that's more promising, that is a better use of your time and your developers, and suddenly you wake up 10 years later and like, what happened? So I think that Kavita was the first one to raise hand, as I can see, like at the corner of my head.
Hi, Bart. Thank you. Thank you for your insights and thank you for the wonderful presentation. I have a weak network, so my camera is off if you don't mind.
No
Um,
worries.
okay. So my question here is that you said that in terms of technical capabilities, probably, as the knowledge of SQL or some sort of tools should be good. But as a project manager, would I be supposed to do the data analysis using these tools, or is just that the knowledge should be sufficient and the concerned team would be doing so?
It's about just having the knowledge that is sufficient enough for good communication, understanding, and sometimes if you don't have time to wait for analysis or checking the data, it's helpful to be able to do it yourself. It's all about convenience, but again, the product management is more about being that person that understands the market and can act to adapt to that market rather than being an excellent engineer or technical person.
Okay. And my second question would be like, because I have also worked in Microsoft, I have a little bit experience of the products and all, but I have no technical knowledge, let's say of Azure or something like that, of cloud maybe. But I've worked in like Microsoft Dynamics 365 and all. So if I want to get into like from consulting to product management, let's say, how manageable or difficult it is to get into such field if you don't have a prior background in product understanding.
Uh, it's 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 that hard. That's the uh, truth part of it. But again, if you do something on your own, you accumulate knowledge, and you have project management background, so you were closer to the product. It is viable to move on. Worst case scenario, on your particular situation, just find a company that has both projects and product managers and be very open about that. Your intention, your career plan is to move on to product management, and knowing that you'll be hired with an intention to give you space to grow, right? If you just say I'm a great project manager, I want to project manage, and then in 2 years you say how about product, then people might be surprised. Of course, that might also mean that you will have problems landing the job, because not everyone will be eager to have like junior product manager on their hands in time. But it's about your career, your future, your dreams, and you have to try as hard as possible until you succeed.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bart.
But I've heard
My
that
pleasure.
you would want to create your product sense, and one of them could be through your case competition. Is that right? That's the best way to do it?
It's a way. The best way is to get any experience as a product manager, but if you have your own product, then you at least have some success stories. You have some learnings, and you can start understanding the principles that you're learning in theory, and then translate them into a better job interview. No one will really, maybe that's not that, let me rephrase that. It's not likely that you will get like a senior or mid product management position on the sole basis of a personal product, of a personal project, but it helps a lot, and it gives you an edge over people that want to be junior or associate product managers that only have like certificate. Certificates are useless, really. Everyone in the modern world is interested in your real experience, your real success, and the proof that you had an excellent impact wherever you were, and what you have achieved in certain companies for yourself and those companies.
Abhijit, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, that just throws away my question when you say certificates are not important. But yeah, hopefully after this session, there will be more of product managers that we can add to your that to your account. But my question was, like when we are starting, we do have The one route that you mentioned was regarding, like starting with more of a technical skills and then moving on towards areas where or companies or roles where there is product management. So it's very difficult to demonstrate those skills when without having to on a CV. So definitely certificates are one good way to show that. So I just wanted to understand, like apart from your videos, like what other resources do you suggest we should look at?
I don't know if you read my mind, but I'm now sharing all the resources I have, which include my Medium, my Twitter, my 2 courses, my YouTube channel, and there's not a single source that will give you everything, and a lot of information will be redundant. This is what I'm trying to help people with. And feel free to just print screen, or I can put the links in the chat in a second. But how to best answer this question? Just look around. I mean, apart from what I do, there's a lot of great people there, like Diego. And now I can't remember his. I don't want to misspell his surname, but Diego is the senior product manager in LinkedIn who moved on from Microsoft. But LinkedIn is Microsoft, so it's quite funny. Following Shravantico is a great idea. There is Diego, not Diego, sorry. Sorry, I don't have, if I had the list, there's a few names that I could recommend. So perhaps just hit me up on LinkedIn, so I'll just give you the links to people I have high confidence in that can also help you out. But you are one Googling away from finding different people who can help you. And again, if you just spend 30 minutes a day, then you'll accumulate so much theory and practical statements that it should be sufficient to get you ready. Whoops, I'm okay. Okay, let's have the last one, and I'll have to go back to my colleagues.
Yeah. Hi, Bart. Thank you for the session. So I have 2 questions. So in the beginning, you talked about like the difference of roles between a project manager and a product manager. Can you also talk a bit about the difference in the roles of a product marketing manager and a product manager? And my second question would be like, I am someone who's coming from a non-tech background, but has some experience in marketing. So does it make more sense, like if I have to break through to a tech industry without having a prior good experience, but with the skills that you're telling, like gaining a bit of them, does it make more sense to pivot to a product marketing manager initially and then move to a product manager so that you'll get an exposure at least with the industry?
Okay, so maybe I'll start from the end, because product marketing manager is actually pretty close to product management in terms of like principles, because you have your goal to promote whatever you need to promote as a marketing specialist, and you have your tools to do that, which usually now mean the campaigns on Google, on Facebook, other sources, try billboards, whatever. But you are looking for a solution to a problem. The problem is that people don't know about your product, and you're looking for the cheapest, most effective solution to promote the product. So it's very easily to sell yourself as a product manager, which the marketing of the product was the actual product. Yeah, you need to understand the campaigns, you need to make different experiments on what works or doesn't via, for example, A/B testing. You need to research the needs, or more likely the ways in which your users will be susceptible to your ads and promotion. So if you start to learn about product management and how we operate, you will discover that you are a product manager that, again, has the marketing product as his very own product. So yeah, I think that it's very easy to pivot from one to another. And like, I think that also describes the differences between the two, that the product marketing manager is a product manager that is highly specialized in promotion and getting the knowledge about the product on the market rather than improving the product itself.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bart. Thanks a lot for coming in on your busy Friday. So, thanks a lot for coming in again. Thanks a lot, guys.